Oh, my mom's called like 3 times. Can I get this?
You serious?
Elizabeth? Look, we're at the hospital.
Hi.
You're here.
Everything is fine. He collapsed in the restaurant. It was just a complication from his surgery. He went to triage and no one was helping us. And then Sonny just took care of all of it. He called the hospital and they put us in here in the VIP room. He just took care of all of it.
Come on, it was easy.
I'm gonna have snacks.
I wasn't going to let anything happen to him.
Thank you.
Elizabeth?
Hi, Dad. I'm so sorry I wasn't here.
Why did you leave the boat?
What do you mean? I wanted to see you. I wanted to be here.
You shouldn't have left. You shouldn't be here. You have work to do.
I just wanted to make sure you were okay.
Are you hearing me? It's all of your tuition money. Go back to work.
Go. I got this.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, giant pussy. Happy birthday to
Why is no one working? Edmund, may I speak with you?
Yeah.
You can blow them out.
What this is about.
What's up?
Can the prototype do the sepsis test?
No, we're still pretty far away.
Well, why isn't everyone working?
We're just taking a break. You know we routinely put in 12-hour days.
What is that?
Oh, that... That's, it's for my daughter. She, it was broken, so I was just tinkering with it at lunchtime.
Your daughter plays with that? What does she do with it?
She bakes things.
Why doesn't she use a real oven?
Because real ovens are dangerous for kids.
Larry Ellison is getting us a meeting at Novartis. And you need to run your team 24 hours a day in shifts, and work does not stop until we run a successful test.
You want me to ask people to work 24 hours a day? Elizabeth, they have families, they have lives. They'll burn out, they'll quit.
But people are replaceable. If you can't do this, I'm gonna start firing people. And get that out of here.
Hey guys, so I wanted you guys to see that a video clip, and I thought that video clip represented, you know, something really, from my center of reality and how I see the world and everything around us. It was really showed something really profound, I think, and the way we can approach things and we can work better together as a team. So in this scene where she's sacrificing a lot, her family is sacrificing a lot for her to be able to be successful, and she is sort of acting like a tyrant, you know what I mean? Like walking in, telling everyone to work 24 hours a day, and really, we can look at it two ways. So most of society, if you look at the news and everything else, will look at people and go, well, this person's acting, this boss, this manager, this person is acting like a tyrant, this government, whatever. And because they're like that, I'm going to punish them. You know what I mean? That's what how most people look at the world. So then you've got two opposing. You've got the manager, boss, versus the people working around them. It's a clash. So nobody wins, you know? So, you know, I call that like the loser perspective, you know? So everything in life ends up being a loss. Nobody wins. As opposed to having a winner perspective. Say your manager is acting all crazy. Instead of going, well, I'm going to punish them and rebel and quit or whatever it may be, how can I reframe it? I'd be like, hey, what you're doing may not work. What if we try this? Because that person is not the all-knowing being. They need help and advice from people around them. So if you can try that more in your approach, like how do we all come out on top? So there was a couple of scenes in there that I liked. Where, you know, she's hurting from what's happening in her life and the sacrifice she's making, and she walks in and sort of yells at everyone, why isn't everyone working? And, you know, I can definitely sympathize with that. You know, I do that all the time. But it was this place and really any other invention that we've done as a human race or anything amazing out there, it's taken so much for us to be standing there. So from the beginning, you know, when fire first started, I'm sure people burnt themselves and damaged things and burnt forests down and burnt houses down by mistake, until one day they got under control, and then through that pain and misery and suffering and sacrifice and damage and death finally came under control, and they figured it out, and then they passed it on to the next generation and the people around them. So I think anything around us, businesses, this business here, like if we could write down the series of events that from day one to get here, it's been so bad that I think a horror movie could not be. If it was compressed into an hour and a half thing, it'd be a horror movie. It's been terrible. Right? If someone knew that what I had to do, they would call the Human Rights Council of like the United Nations and be like, "Hey man, this guy is being traumatized." You know? Obviously, you know, things are better now, but it took a lot. You know, and just like any business out there or any idea that the humans have got together, you know, having a good family, you know, takes a lot of effort. Having anything come together, it has to be, I think, appreciated, respected. What we have right now here has to be appreciated, respected, and then from there we can go, okay, well, with this, where can we go as a team, as a people, as a community, as a organization? So I thought that was a good perspective, because I think in general people don't realize what it's taken from, you know, from us being here to, you know, building roads to building this, and we have all these things now. We have a place to work and we have something, but I think majority of the population sort of goes, well, doesn't actually appreciate what it took to get there, you know, to create peace in this world where there's less fighting than there used to be. It took, you know, sacrifice, death and war, and now the world is in a sort of stalemate of like trying not to, you know, where they don't want to get into a war because it leads to more fighting and death, but someone had to go through that so that we got to this point. It's not, yeah, so it doesn't necessarily have to be painful for an idea to come into fruition, but it generally is, you know, it is sacrifice. It's, you know, the person that's like, okay, my daughter is sick in bed and needs me, but then leaves the daughter and goes to work or whatever it may be to, you know, so it's taken a lot. So I do want everyone, pretty much what I'm saying is, as I come into work and wherever you work here or any organization or whatever you have, just realize what we have in anything is taken a lot of effort, time, energy, sacrifice, pain and suffering, and really the sacrifice, I think that's the best way to describe it, to get to anything that we have right now. So I think when we appreciate that, then we can realize what we do have and what we're willing to work to build more and build better off that foundation that we currently have. Yeah, so, and currently where the business is at, you know, it's not great, but it is a good foundation that we've taken a lot to get here, and now we have to build into the future. And you know, there's a scene where she starts talking about why is your daughter playing with an oven, you know, which is a very odd thing to do, but you can see that as a manager, as a boss, as a leader, she's just can't think straight. She's just losing it, you know what I mean? And she's just not really worried about, she's not necessarily a bad person or whatever it is, but she just can't grasp at things. So this time, you know, most people again would look at that and go, man, did you see my manager? She's crazy. All she wants to do is, she's talking about how my kids should be using a real oven. She's a nutter, you know what I mean? That's what the majority of the world will do, you know what I mean? But I think in that situation, like, all right, this person is on the same side as me. We're trying to achieve the same goal. We're trying to get to a certain place. I need to step in and help and go, hey, okay, I understand. We're flustered. Okay, let's try to work together and get to this goal. Okay, you're saying that you want everyone to work 24 hours a day. I say, let's try this instead. Let's maybe reshape the team. Let's maybe get a few more people on board. Let's try a new tactic, you know? And she's like, oh, well, I didn't really think about that, you know, because you can't remember this person is just another person. They don't have all the answers in the world, you know? And, you know, we as humans are sort of like, well, this person is up there, some kind of manager in the hierarchy, and I've got to pull them down a peg. I've got to, you know, bring them down to earth or whatever. We're always doing this, you know? But that person is not necessarily trying to cause any damage. That's the best they know. They don't know what else to do. They're freaking out, they're emotional, and that's all they know. This is what they know. They know fire people, scream at people, do this, you know, and those are not necessarily going to work. But then you would step in and go, okay, how can I help? How can I say, what can I do? You know? Was there anything else? Yeah, I think on the last thing, this one could be a little bit weird, where this last sentence is probably a little bit weird, but just to put it back into perspective. So, you know, we're in a place in the world right now where people are like, I have this much income, I have this much, you know, healthcare, life, money, whatever it may be, right? At this level. And then I see people at this level. So there's a discrepancy where people are like, this person has more than me, I have less, you know? And it's true. And the general consensus is, well, this person that has more than me, I will take something from them, you know what I mean? And then redistribute it like Robin Hood so that everyone has more. And if you look at every time society has done something like that, where it's redistributed the wealth, it generally leads to the people that have been controlling, making decisions on behalf of the wealth, are usually making decisions in a certain way to create the wealth. So when it gets redistributed, all these people are standing around going, well, great, this person owned, Mr. Burns from The Simpsons owned the power plant. I've taken all of his wealth and left him with a little bit, you know, you can't have billions, but here's a couple of million, and go sit at home from now on. We don't want you involved, you're too greedy. And so Mr. Burns goes home, and then you've got all these people now living in, you know, their $800,000 houses paid off, you know, living in a nice income. While the person that was distributing the wealth initially, Mr. Burns, was making decisions in a certain way that kept that power plant alive. And it'll only come in a little while. What ends up happening is when the wealth is distributed, they're like, all right, cool. Wealth is distributed, everyone's living a better quality of life for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks, until the power turns off, because the power plant no longer works. And then they're like, oh, cool, what do we do now? And they're like, well, we need to find someone that can run the power plant and do that kind of stuff. But when they go to try to do it, essentially this person that ran the power plant and ran it wasn't, not only were they running the power plant, they were making decisions on how to bring in money, how to redistribute, be selfish when you need to, be stern when you need to, be nice when you need to. They were doing it, they were waking up, 2 a.m. in the morning, having these ideas where they're like, oh, let's do it like this, And so this Mr. Burns character from The Simpsons is no longer there. So when these people that have redistributed the wealth go and try to run the power plant, generally it doesn't work. And then the power plant collapses, and then another thing collapses, and then there's a collapse in society. So we have to be careful what we ask for as a society, So if we start going in this direction where thinking, okay, if only the person that owned all these assets and wealth redistributed it, the government redistribute the wealth, the individual that's really rich redistribute the wealth, suddenly that wealth, the wealth is that economic engine that's creating money every day, starts to fall apart, starts to there's no longer that wealth. So in real life that would mean that the power plant stops, the whole society just comes to a crashing halt. So now they're like, well, everything's a lot more even, but the quality of life for the whole of society has dropped dramatically. Now people are sort of, whatever level society was at, and they were like, oh, my life sucks, I earn 60K a year, you know what I mean? And that was the average income, say. Now the average income will drop to 40, 30, 20. And that's happened numerous times all throughout the world, from Venezuela to Russia to all these countries where wealth is redistributed. It's a great idea, it's a very wholesome idea, distribution of wealth, but doesn't always work. Anyway, what is going to work is just trying to see what we can do to build and work together. So just like a pyramid, where it's going to be like, should we, how do we work together over a period of time to build this huge monument, which is usually a business, a family, a life, a relationship, So build, first of all, let's build further rather than redistribute, everything. Let's work together to build. And and I think the key points to remember is, the people that we think are hoarding all this wealth, like, the governments and the richer people, they have created something which is distributing jobs and taxes and everything. And when you start to redistribute that thing they've created, it suddenly doesn't necessarily work the way it used to. And if you look at any business out there, no matter how big it is, eventually, whenever that happens, that business eventually, crashes. So if you look at the last 50, 100 years, look at every business out there, from Sony to everything, that's generally the trend. There'll be a massive build-up, and then there'll be a cry out from the masses to distribute the energy and the wealth, and then the business will eventually fizzle out and crash out. So, what is the better way? Is, okay, well, yes, that company owns a lot of wealth, but how do I add to the company so then the company gets better, and then I can add to my personal wealth, personal income. So it's about building rather than redistributing. I think that was I think that did sort of make sense. And there's probably a lot of other stuff I could probably say. And yeah. Yeah, I think that'll do for now. And then there'll be some other concepts and stuff I'm pretty keen on talking about, which is, yeah, we'll get to the other ones later. Anyway, thank you very much.